Hello, my name is Owen, and today I'll be doing a quick review of the entirety of Malazan Book of the Fallen. What I want to do is give a brief overview of what the series is about, tell you things that I liked, tell you things I didn't like, and then tell you whether or not you should dive into this behemoth of a series. This is a little bit different than what I normally do. Because Malazan Book of the Fallen is a 10-book series that took me about a year to read in its entirety. I finished this a couple of weeks ago, had time to sit with it, really digest this thing that I absorbed over the last year. To give an overview of what's it about, to give an overview of what it's about would be almost impossible. Just to start off, this is one of the most complex, detailed world building I have ever encountered in literature. I'm sure if I read the Silmarillion, I would be equally as confused. But it's just so detailed, and this series is infamous for readers not knowing what the heck is going on ever. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that is definitely true. So if you don't like dense, confusing, throw you right in the middle type of stories, don't even look at the first book. I'm telling you that. I'll just start with the things that I like, because I'm not even going to try to give you an overview. It's a fantasy world, follows a lot of POV characters, 10 books. Most of them are over 1,000 pages plus, so like a 10,000 plus page series. All right, I'll just get right into the things that I like. It is a fantastic series. That's what I'm going to say to start. Steven Erikson, I don't know how he does it. Like, I talked about how complex the world building is. I can't even listen. I'm not even going to get into that. But his characters, no matter how crazy the world is, his characters are very, very grounded and strong. And what that means in a story like this is, even though you won't know what's going on, like why exactly people are doing the things that they are doing, or what the impact is, or the causes of why they got there in the first place, or where they're going to, you will not understand this for a while, possibly ever. But because the characters are so good, compelling and interesting, witty dialogue, funny dialogue, just funny in general, you will stick to the story because you want to meet up with these characters, you want to see what they're doing, you want to check in on them, follow in their adventures, right? The best piece of advice I heard when going into Malazan Book of the Fallen is you can't be reading the book thinking about the big picture. Read it scene by scene, and that was the best advice I think I could have been given for this series. Because I know I keep going back to this, but there was moments. All right, so reading Malazan Book of the Fallen book is like this, okay? The first 400 pages, you don't know what the book is about, which sounds absolutely insane, right? But this happens, listen, keep in mind, maybe this doesn't happen for the 10th and final book, but it happens guaranteed, for me at least, the first 9 books. The first half of the 9th book, I did not know what was going on, right? I did not know what the plot was. And I got so many things to say. But eventually, the 400-page mark, you start getting, okay, I can see what the plot line for this particular book is. I don't understand the specifics of what their goals are, but I understand, like, example, like, we need to get from point A to point B. I understand that now, 500 pages in. That's going to be the goal of the story. All right, that's what we're going to be following. And of course, Erikson, fantasy author, he's going to throw twists and reveals and big battles and action sequences, which are all outstanding. They're all in this book. But what really shines in Malazan Book of the Fallen books is the last 300 pages. I know, the last 300 pages, right? The first 400 pages, you're in no man's land. You have no idea what's going on. And honestly, believing in the things I don't like, it's exhausting. it's honestly exhausting reading 400 pages of a book that you don't know exactly what's going on. And to make matter, I'll save that. Anyway, but the last 300 pages of his books, he talks about convergences, which is all like the plot, POV characters all meeting up and doing something all together, and all the plot lines converge, which he has many plot lines in each book, and it's just, peak fantasy. It's so good. However, and I almost talked about it a lot of times earlier, but I yell myself back. Erikson's POV characters are all super engaging, and like there's very few that I actively dislike to reading. There are so many. You'll read the first book and think, wow, that was a lot of characters. The second book, it's all new characters except for like 3. And I'm not talking like, like there's 5 or 6 POV. No. He has, in the beginning of his books, he has an index of names of all the characters that you're gonna have to know. And by know, I mean like you're gonna like encounter them, because I read all the books and I love them all. Couldn't tell you what half of these names are, or even after reading the whole series, what they did. This series begs for a reread. And from what I've read from the fans, I guess I'm a fan now, but people like, you want to go back in and you understand it because you understand like the end game and how it ends. And I definitely agree with that. Having finished all 10 books, I do understand a lot more of like what the heck was going on. But it's a journey, man. It's just a journey. So do I recommend it? I honestly, I can't recommend it for everyone because of the things that I said. Because I think most of the things that even I said were positive were kind of like a scary thing, right? Like, like first 400 pages are pretty bad. They're not bad. They're just kind of confusing, right? But wait till the last 300. That's when it really picks up. It's like people are like, okay, I don't have a year of my life to give to a series that is only good for the last 30%. It's not the case. Erikson is witty. He's engaging, and my favorite part of this series is that he has a message about humanity. And this is getting like deep now, but I don't even know if I want to spoil what the message is about, because like he really hammers it home in like many of the books. But it's just a story about humanity and compassion, and it's just incredible and honestly inspiring. A lot of my favorite quotes in literature, period, have come from this book. I've never read a book or book series in this case before where I felt the urge so many times to immediately stop reading the book and write down a line or a paragraph, because it's almost, it is poetic. The way that Erikson writes, it's so good. And it's so deep because of like the world behind it. It just feels like the most intensive thing you'll ever read in terms of characters, world building, story, scope, but meaning and like powerfulness. That's not even what I mean, but it's just all there. So the reason I can't recommend it is because like it is a behemoth, right? So if you don't like to think too hard about what's happening, you just like to read a book that's like, I understand what's going on, because like, yeah, like most people would like to know what's going on. Like this book will turn you off and you won't have the endurance to push through all of 10. And that's honestly what you need for this series. You need endurance, not because it's boring or because it's bad. It's just because it's tough. But if you get to the end, or even if you like get to like a couple books in, you'll know why people love this series so much. It's not for everyone, but if you think you could do it, I encourage you to try. And I won't blame you if you can't or if you don't like it, but I loved it. This is my longest quick review, but it was for 10 books. So technically, I was under a minute for each book. All right, I'm done now. Thank you.